Okay, so in YouTube there is a big piece of news going going on in which there is a big multimedia company that closed down and has now harbored many different channels such as Smosh and Clever News, amongst others. Those are the two you probably heard of very largely. I have an opinion on this nonetheless, because obviously I'm in a position in which, I'm trying to grow unitards into something that it wasn't intended to be growing into 4 years ago. So I've kind of been looking into this kind of stuff before the whole Defy Media thing popped up, and now that I am seeing what's going on with Defy Media, it doesn't look pretty. And I will be saying what I've heard, what people have said, what people have spoken out on. I haven't heard anything from Defy on the matter or on their side, but here's what I do know about Defy Media, so let's talk about Defy Media. Defy Media was a multimedia company that owned that owned Smosh, Clever News, amongst others, and just went down underneath, closed its doors a couple of days ago. Apparently they sent out a memo to all of their employees and the employees over at their separate branches about closing down effective at the beginning of January 2019, but the day after or later in the day closed down for good, stopped all production, ceased everything from continuing in production, and just simply vanished off of the map. They did own other branches, most importantly Screen Junkies, which they did trade off to other companies, but we are still left now with Smosh, Clever News, and others that, I'll be honest, I don't really recall at the moment. I know there were plenty of others, but the two major channels at the hand are Smosh and Clever News. There are also many other distinct independent creators that were also a part of Defy, and the overwhelming position that a lot of people have taken on Defy, especially key people like Anthony Padilla, who was formerly of Smosh, who did leave Smosh a few years ago, as well as Ryland, I want to call him Ryland Adams for whatever reason, but he is the partner of Shane Dawson, who was also involved with Defy Media, who've spoken out on them on Defy Media owing the creators money, and this has been a wide issue amongst people that have been involved with Defy, people that were involved in companies that were involved with Defy, and so on and so forth. Now there are channels like Smosh that have now gone dark because their channel will not work since it is linked with Defy, who is now closed down. Therefore you cannot cease, or you are now ceasing uploading on the Smosh channel, which means you won't see new Smosh content or Smosh Games content or Clever News content because of the fact that Defy Media has closed down, and they are still linked with Defy Media and that channel. So therefore the AdSense revenue, which was all going to Defy, that Defy was not using, or at least has not been stated to have been using, to pay their employees the correct or the wage that they should have been paid and holding out on pay, now you are seeing that become a huge bubbly mess. YouTube tried to get involved with a bunch of the channels and individuals that were linked with Defy Media. They tried to try to unlink everyone from Defy Media. I guess they would copyright strike their videos to ensure that they would get separation from Defy Media and try to clear everything up so that way that the individuals and the channel runners would get compensated for the AdSense revenue going forward with Defy no longer in the picture. But there was also an article that came out last year about Defy Media getting or being given $70 million in an investment, or I think it's an investment, or at least that's what it was paraphrased at, and now a year later have completely gone under. So now that brings up the question of where did that money go? Why was it not used to compensate a lot of the workers, such as the people that ran and were involved with Smosh, Clever News, and others, and also the fact that it just really brings Defy in a horrible light, which it very well should, because with everything that has been said on Defy and all of it stacking up to be just this one giant bubble that Defy, wouldn't be able to avoid if they were still around, it does paint Defy as a really shit company. And I don't think they're gonna defend themselves because they don't need to. They're not a company anymore. So this all just kind of goes onto the shoulders of Defy, and it really shows that this is exactly what occurred with Defy. Now, with that, we get involved in the more sticky situation, the heavier picture in terms of just the overwhelming majority of phrasing that Defy has not paid their employees, has not compensated the individuals, and also has taken their AdSense revenue. Anthony Padilla mentioned something about, or in his video as a discussion on the whole Defy Media and Smosh situation as a whole, phrasing it with as much care as possible, stating that he sold it for stock, which would essentially mean that they would start getting compensated based off of stock once Defy went public, but Defy never went public. They remained private and were never traded on the public market. Therefore, they were compensated 0% for it. They were just getting the paychecks from Defy whenever the paychecks were put in. And we can see now that some of those paychecks never went through. There are also other individual creators on the platform that were complaining that they never got the pay from Defy and would not be paid from Defy, especially now that they've gone under. They were utilizing that AdSense revenue that a lot of the creators made on the platform to pay off their debts in terms of most likely being able to liquidate whatever assets they can from the company itself. And it's just an overwhelming shitty situation. And I'm glad to see that, when I'm researching this topic, on no website, on no Twitter account or Instagram account, am I seeing anybody back Defy, because at this point it doesn't seem like they should. And this should be a topic that we do talk about, because this is something that I think a lot of people that like a larger creator on the platform would probably be shocked to see could be in this kind of situation. With Smosh, they were bought by Defy, or they were bought by a company that was merged with another to create Defy, and that could be the same for a lot of other companies that, in terms of, you don't know about. There are a lot of other companies that are bought by parent companies. Rooster Teeth is one of my favorite one of my favorite companies that are owned by a parent company. The same can be said for a lot of groups, so Rooster Teeth is a group of individuals on the platform with or creating that are essentially a business. Same goes for Smosh. Fine Brothers are the same kind of situation. They're always going to have a parent company, and that's something that I've always kind of researching, because I have Unitar's Productions. We made it a parent company itself because we didn't like the idea of selling off the brand for whatever reason, and this is the kind of thing that can come of it, where you get put into a situation in which the parent company utilizes its strength in terms of corporate stature or just status over your company, altogether, to kind of null you down back into something that they can kind of contain. And that was seen by, phrases that individual creators would talk about how they wanted to leave Defy or tried to leave Defy and were approached by Defy's lawyers, and ultimately were not able to, because then it would become a huge kind of issue that would be taken into court, and would become a whole entire mess that it wasn't at the time. So it was just kind of like they had to settle. And this just shows Defy to be an evil company, not something that you can kind of look at and go, yeah, I think they'll take care of the creator. I think with Rooster Teeth, they have a parent company that is really looking out for them, and I don't think we couldn't say the same for Smosh for a number of years. They essentially took advantage of Anthony Padilla and Ian Hecox back when they were individuals that didn't have correct representation, tried to lure them into selling the brand for something that they knew was not going to pay off for Smosh, and ultimately we see 7 years later exactly what the outcome is. So where does this leave everybody? Well, it leaves everybody in a state of unknown. Smosh has gone dark. Their channel has been linked to Defy, and therefore they are not able to upload anything to the channel. This may have been resolved with YouTube's efforts earlier this morning and late last night, but I'm still unaware as to the current status of that at the moment. And with all the other individuals linked with Defy, YouTube is trying to give them a sense of being able to break away from their channel from Defy and from being associated with Defy, which is a great step, since obviously you can't do so through Defy since they aren't around anymore, simply as that. So at the end of the day, I think we're going to continue to see this unravel. There are companies like Clever and Smosh that are not going to be looking for new parent companies. And, you can only hope for the best in that case. I don't think by any strand of the mean that Smosh or Smosh Games or Clever will go under, primarily for the overwhelming fact that they are bigger brands that have been pulling in numbers that multimedia companies want to see, that can be a huge profit, and I think at the end of the day that will matter more towards the parent company than than an unknown. I think Smosh and Smosh Games and Clever and all the other branches will most likely find new homes. I think at the end of the day, we're gonna see this unravel over the next couple of weeks into situations that'll take messy turns, into situations that'll take more positive turns. Turns, and I think we're going to be seeing an overwhelming big struggle for the former heads of Defy Media, who will most likely end up trying to go into whatever other venture, and this will most likely follow them as well. Just a bad situation, and for any creator that is looking to partner with a bigger company, I'll say this first and foremost because I was one of those individuals looking for that. I ultimately chose not to sell off unitards or anything that it was containing, the branches that we have, the Lyricist Schools and the Russell Target and so on and so forth, the Zach Hardy website that I now took down. I didn't sell any of that because I knew that I would not have a lot of creative, not a lot of creative say. I would not have a lot of pull in which direction it took, and ultimately I was not going to let that happen. So if you are looking for, or you are a creator that is looking for a company to kind of partner with, to give you some support, to give you some leverage, just be wary of the company's background, see what it has. I mean, always take everything they say with a grain of salt until you delve further into it. You can never trust a larger corporation. We see that with Defy Media and Smosh and Clever and Smosh Games and all of their other branches and all the other individual creators on the platform. So just first and foremost, always look further into everything that's being said, everything that's being promised, everything that's being done. Give yourself correct representation if you can't get correct representation for yourself, and ultimately determine whether or not you're trying to settle or whether you're settling or whether you truly want to continue this with your own say, because most times you wouldn't get that with a parent company. So it's best off to kind of find an alternative option, of which I think could have helped Clever and Smosh and all their other branches and individual creators a while back when they were purchased by Defy. So now we're going to see this, of course, unravel at the seams over the next couple of weeks. We are going to continue to see this just devolve further and further and further until we get some sort of closure from all sides. And with that, I kind of leave you with as much information and updates as I've had and as I have been afforded the opportunity to collect. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I hope you were informed. I hope you go out and you read more into the situation. And I wish the best of luck to everybody being affected by the bullshit that Defy is giving you. I'm Zach Hardy. You can find me on Twitter at ZACHARYSERRA, on Instagram at THEZACKHARDY, and you can find my presidential Twitter at VoteForHardy, VOTE4 HARDY. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Comment and subscribe for more. I'm Zach Hardy. I'm signing off.